Oh, hey. All right. Collin McHugh flew into Seattle. Oh, wait. Collin McHugh flew into Seattle as somebody the Astros needed for the night. By the time he left the mound, Houston accidentally found a starting pitcher. So the Astros and Mariners were playing on April 22nd, 2014 at Safeco Field. Nobody was pretending this was some kind of early season showdown. Houston came in at 6-14. The Astros lost 7 straight before coming into Seattle. The night before, Dallas Keuchel beat Felix Hernandez 7-2, finally ending the streak. Houston's offense started this game hitting 196. 196. That's the worst in the majors. George Springer had been called up less than a week earlier. This was still a rebuild, trying to show little signs that the rebuild might eventually work. So what were you looking for if you were an Astros fan in 2014, April? Not a pennant race. You're looking for evidence. Give me a player who might still be here when this gets good. Seattle was in a different spot. The Mariners spent $240 million that offseason to bring Robinson Cano over from the Yankees. They had Felix. They believed they could start becoming relevant again. Instead, after Houston beat them the night before, Seattle had also lost 7 straight. And now, they're about to face Collin McHugh, if you knew who that was. McHugh wasn't supposed to be in Houston's rotation. Scott Feldman went on the DL with biceps tendonitis. So Houston called McHugh up from AAA OKC. McHugh found out Monday he's going to Seattle. He didn't find out he was starting till he reached the hotel on Monday night. So naturally, he struck out 12 guys. But before we get there, who exactly had Houston picked up? Collin Alexander McHugh. He was born June 19th, 1987 in Napiersville, Illinois. But he grew up around Atlanta, went to Providence Christian Academy in Lilburn, Georgia. He wasn't a premium prospect. Everybody's been circling since he was 16. McHugh pitched at Berry College, an NAIA school in Georgia at the time. He spent 3 years there and became the first Berry baseball player to eventually reach the majors. The Mets selected him in the 18th round in 2008, 554th overall. Think about how many things have to go right if you're the 554th pick. Yeah? You're not getting a giant signing bonus. Nobody's arranging an organization's pitching plan around you. Every level is another audition. McHugh just kept surviving. Savannah, Port St. Lucie, Binghamton, Buffalo. Finally, on August 23rd, 2012, the Mets brought him to the majors. His major league debut was against Colorado, and that was weirdly appropriate considering what we're about to see tonight. 7 scoreless innings, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts. He still didn't get the win because the Mets lost 1-0. That's baseball saying congratulations, welcome aboard. But the debut didn't turn him into an established starter. By 2013, he was bouncing between the majors and the minors. The Mets traded him to Colorado for Eric Young, Jr., and McHugh made 4 appearances for the Rockies. His combined MLB line that year was 0-4, with an earned run average over 10. And the Rockies designated him for assignment in December. Houston claimed him on waivers. So here's where the Astros of this era become interesting, because Houston wasn't looking at that 10.04 earned run average and hoping for something magic. Their analysts saw something underneath. McHugh's curveball had unusual spin, and Houston believed the pitch was much better than his traditional results suggested. Astros assistant GM David Stearns later described McHugh as somebody whose surface statistics didn't show his real value. And that sounds normal now. In 2013-14, this was still one of the edges Houston's trying to exploit. Grab the guy nobody else is looking for and figure out what he did differently. See if there's a major league player hiding underneath that ugly stat line. And before we actually let him pitch, here's something I have absolutely no idea what to do with. Collin McHugh can play guitar, drums, and saxophone, bass clarinet, ukulele. Yeah, apparently he used to bring the ukulele on road trips. His brother and sister are both songwriters in Nashville. And his listed karaoke song, "This Is How We Do It," by Montel Jordan. So now I'm picturing some random minor league hotel room where future World Series pitcher Collin McHugh is sitting around, playing a ukulele. What am I supposed to do with that information? Anyway, back to baseball. Houston gives McHugh a lead nearly immediately. Jose Altuve flies out to start the game, and Dexter Fowler walks. Then Jason Castro gets an Erasmo Ramirez pitch and pushes it just over the wall in left field. 2-run homer, Houston leads 2-0. And now McHugh walks onto a major league mound for the first time that season. So Abraham Almonte, strike 3, swinging. Dustin Ackley, strike 3, looking. Then Robinson Cano, the $240 million centerpiece of Seattle's offseason. Strike 3, swinging, 3 Ks. What are you thinking? What were you thinking if you're watching this live? Is that a fluke? Because that's probably where I was. McHugh entered this game 0-8 for his MLB career. Even Bo Porter, the manager, had described him before the game as more pitch-to-contact type. The Mariners are about to make that scouting report look a little dumb. Chris Carter homers in the second, 412-foot shot into the second deck in left, and now it's 3-0. Corey Hart, not that Corey Hart, gets Seattle's first hit in the bottom half. But he's thrown out trying to stretch it to second. McHugh gets Kyle Seager and Justin Smoke. Still clean. Third inning, Michael Saunders strikes out, Mike Zunino strikes out, Brad Miller strikes out. 6 Ks through 3 innings. McHugh struck out the side twice. Seattle finally gives him something to deal with in the fourth. Almonte singles, Ackley strikes out again, Cano singles, putting 2 aboard. Okay, here's Houston's first actual problem. Corey Hart flies out, Kyle Seager comes up with 2 on, 2 out, and McHugh strikes him out. No damage. The thing that's noticeable isn't just the strikeouts. McHugh's not walking anybody. Seattle can't wait him out because he's throwing strikes, but the strikes are not comfortable. Houston isn't giving him much more offense either. Ramirez settles down after Carter's homer, so that 3-0 lead stays exactly where it is. In the fifth, Jonathan VR makes an error that puts Saunders aboard. Zunino strikes out, and Saunders gets caught trying to steal. Inning over. The sixth is another 1-2-3 inning. Brad Miller fouls out. Almonte looks at strike 3. Ackley swings through strike 3. 11 Ks. Hey, buddy. And we're starting to move beyond. McHugh had a nice emergency start. It's starting to get into genuine MLB starter territory here. Matt Dominguez gives Homer. Matt Dominguez gives Houston another run in the seventh. Home run to center. 4-0. Then McHugh gets Cano again. Strikeout number 12. Corey Hart, not that one, grounds out. And that's it. Bo Porter takes the baseball after 6 2/3, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 12 strikeouts, 89 pitches, 61 strikes. McHugh had never thrown more than 73 pitches in any of his minor league appearances that year. So Houston wasn't going to try to get greedy. They were a little greedy. 89 pitches. But Raul Valdez came in, walked Seager, and Smoke hit a 2-run homer. But those were Seattle's only runs. Houston adds another in the 8th when Carter singles home Castro. And Josh Fields closes the 9th. Houston adds another in the 8th when Carter, Astros 5, Mariners 2. Collin McHugh finally has his first Major League win. Afterward, everyone was trying to process where this came from. Porter called it a case of seizing an opportunity. Seattle manager Lloyd McClendon basically admitted the Mariners hadn't gotten the pitcher described in their scouting report. McHugh was reaching around 94 with movement, and Seattle never adjusted. Calling himself McHugh sounded more relieved than triumphant. After starting his career 0-8, he talked about finally getting that proverbial gorilla off his back. And Porter was asked the obvious question, does this earn him another chance? Well, yeah, sure didn't hurt. And 5 days later, Houston started them against Oakland. Maybe that's where reality finally catches up with the waiver claim. Except McHugh goes 8 2/3, allows 1 run, wins again. Okay, now you got something. The 2014 Astros were still pretty bad, but they weren't still 111 loss bad. They finished 70 92, and that's a 19-win improvement. They climbed out of last place in the AL West. Altuve hit .241 with 225 hits and won the franchise's first batting title. Keuchel developed into a top-of-the-rotation starter, and Springer gave everybody a preview of what was coming. Bo Porter wouldn't finish the season as their manager, but the organization itself was moving and improving, and McHugh himself became part of that movement. Seattle's story is almost painful in the opposite direction. The Mariners recovered from this 8-game losing streak to go 87 75, and that's a pretty good season. It's also 1 win short. Oakland took the second AL wildcard at 88-74, so Seattle missed the postseason by just 1 game. So in hindsight, does an April loss count differently than a September loss? No, it doesn't. And that's the cruel part. As for McHugh, this wasn't a 2-start curiosity. He finished 2014 with an 11-9 record, 2.73 earned run average, 157 Ks in 155 innings. Amongst MLB rookies with at least 150 innings, nobody had a better earned run average. Houston named him its Rookie of the Year. Then in 2015, McHugh won 19 games, Keuchel won 20. Houston made the playoffs, and McHugh won Game 1 of the ALDS against Kansas City. By 2017, injuries had limited him to 12 regular season starts, but he returned late and pitched out of the bullpen during Houston's postseason. He threw 4 scoreless, hitless innings against the Yankees in Game 3 of the ALCS and ended the year as a World Series champion. Yeah. Then McHugh reinvented himself again. Houston moved him into the bullpen full-time in 2018. McHugh responded with 94 Ks and a 1.99 earned run average, and that's one of the things I like about his career. He kept changing jobs without disappearing. Starter, long reliever, back to the rotation, back to relief again. After leaving Houston after 2019, he signed with Boston but opted out of the COVID-shortened season while working his way back from an arm issue. Tampa Bay picked him up in 2021, naturally, because this is apparently what Collin McHugh did every time somebody wondered whether he was finished. McHugh put up a 1.55 earned run average, 64 innings. He spent his final 2 seasons with his hometown Braves, retired in January 2024. His final MLB line was 71-47, 3.72 under an average, 967 strikeouts. Not bad. 11 Major League seasons, all from the 554th pick in the draft. And this whole Astros chapter begins with somebody else's biceps tendonitis, a late flight to Seattle, and a pitcher learning at the team hotel he'd be starting the next night. That's a pretty good waiver claim. Yeah. So next time we jump ahead 8 years and change sports. October 16th, 2022. The Carolina Panthers are in Los Angeles against the defending Super Bowl champion Rams. Carolina's already fired Matt Rule, and Dante Jackson's about to provide one of the few moments that makes a miserable afternoon worth remembering. That's Panther 7, Dante Jackson, October 16th, 2022. But that's next time. This time was for Collin McHugh, Astro 75. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Kevin. Thanks if you stuck around. Thanks for the comments, even though I couldn't